breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love.
Good morning. Welcome to our service from the Unitarian Universalist Meeting House in Springfield, Vermont. We welcome those of you who are zooming in from Springfield or elsewhere in the southeast corner of Vermont, as well as our extended community members who are joining us from afar. We are a multifaceted community, and we are glad you are with us this morning. We are a covenantal community, which we have promised to care for and to learn from each other. Together, we seek to deepen and broaden our faith and understanding. Your joining us today will enrich our covenant and our ever-widening community. My name is Dick Andrews. I am one of the trustees. If you are a guest today, we invite you to simply enjoy being with us. You are welcome to join us after the service for our virtual coffee hour discussion time. At the end of the service, there will be a time for announcements and an opportunity for guests to introduce themselves. Thank you.
Hear these words for our chalice lighting from Thich Nhat Hanh, that great Buddhist teacher. Thich Nhat Hanh says, when we see someone overflowing with love and understanding, someone who is keenly aware of what is going on, we know that we are very close to the Buddha and to Jesus Christ. The words of Thich Nhat Hanh. Come into this place of peace and let our silence heal your spirit. Come into this place of memory and let these stories warm your soul. Come into this place of prophecy and power and let our collective vision change and heal your heart. Welcome to our time of worship together. So glad that you are here. Thich Nhat Hanh, that utterly amazing Buddhist teacher. Wow. We are celebrating him. This is the third and final of a 3-part series on Thich Nhat Hanh. And one of the reasons that we are celebrating him is because he departed this plane recently, relatively recently, in January. And this is part of our honoring of him. Thich Nhat Hanh's order, the Buddhist order that he started, is called the Order of Interbeing. And I remember one of the early books that I read by him, and actually a video I saw of him later, he said, when you see a piece of paper, can you see in it also the tree that it came from and the cloud that rained down on the tree and the logger who harvested that tree? This is a little bit of that passage from him. The sheet of paper contains all the information about the cosmos. The trees are not enough to make a sheet of paper. The sunshine nourishes the trees, the clouds, the water, the trees, the soil, the minerals. They are one with the paper. So can you look deeply at the paper and see the tree and see all of life? You can't separate any part from any other. We inter-are. We are constantly interbeing. We inter-are, as Thich Nhat Hanh would say. So in the spirit of interbeing, I want to invite you right now to feel, if you've got a window, you can look out, feel how the oxygen from the trees is what's sustaining you. And the vegetables that you've eaten are your body right now. That's broccoli probably for me, sprouts maybe. We inter-are. So feel that. It's not a theory. Thich Nhat Hanh is all about reality and practice. You can't exist. None of us can exist without every other thing, being, person, mineral entity on the entire planet. We inter-are. So feel that in every cell of your body, how every cell of you came from somewhere else and is going somewhere else. So let's sing this beautiful, beautiful song that Julaine and the virtual choir have prepared for us. In the bulb, there's a flower. In the winter is the spring. In a beginning is an end, and an end is a beginning. Feel the interconnectedness of it all as we sing this beautiful song together. Sing along, feel your interbeingness, and let's mute so we can hear and still sing along at the same time. Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. Only love alone can see. That's what it's all about. It's all about love. And in that opening quote I shared with you, when we see someone overflowing with love and understanding, someone who is keenly aware of what's going on, we know that we are very close to the Buddha and to Jesus Christ. Love. People who are keenly aware, who are alive, their hearts are vibrating with love, are connected, are living the interbeingness of it all. That's what it's all about. So join me in the words for our affirmation. It's all about love. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve the needs of all beings, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with the source of our being. So today we are going to focus on one part of Thich Nhat Hanh's amazing life. As I said, this is the third part of a three-part series. In the first part, we talked about being peace in a time of war, how Thich Nhat Hanh in the Vietnam War, through his practice of meditation and prayer and going deeply, finding that interbeingness, could feel and see and live the truth of his brotherhood, sisterhood with everyone involved in the war, even the so-called enemy. And for this amazing work in Vietnam, he was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize by none other than Martin Luther King Jr. So that's what we talked about in the first session we did on Thich Nhat Hanh, about being peace in a time of war, which he lived. He lived it for us. And in the second session, we talked about trauma-informed, harmony-bound. Thich Nhat Hanh says we need to learn how to suffer. Who would have thought? But we do. We need to learn how to suffer. When you learn how to suffer well, you suffer less. To be present with your suffering, to find that largeness of your connection with Source, your interbeingness, and from that place of connection to be able to hold your upsetness, your anger, your distress, and say, there you are, my anger, there you are, my anxiety, I see you. I'll take care of you. To be able to be bigger than your suffering and be present to your own suffering. And in doing that, you can be present to other people's suffering. So that's what we talked about in our second session, learning how to suffer well. And both of these are up on our website, on our YouTube channel. So you're welcome to visit there if you want to explore more or remember what we said in the recent months. And so today we're focusing on a different aspect. Thich Nhat Hanh has written more than 100 books. He's in English alone, let alone the other languages that he speaks. So he was, in a way you could say, a pioneer in interfaith work. And one of his books is called Living Buddha, Living Christ. And it came out in 1997. And I remember reading it back then, and I was so deeply touched by it. And he brings together these two traditions of Buddhism and Christianity. And one of the things that Thich Nhat Hanh says is, on my altar in Plum Village, Plum Village is the place in France. Thich Nhat Hanh became, he could not go back to Vietnam for many, many years. He was in exile. And he created a community called Plum Village in France. And so he says, on my altar at my hermitage in Plum Village are images of Buddha and of Jesus. And every time I light incense, I touch both of them as my spiritual ancestors. So here's a classically trained Buddhist, a monk, the originator of the order of interbeing, saying Jesus is his ancestor. Huh? Let's explore that together. So at Plum Village, where Thich Nhat Hanh lived, learning how to breathe in peace, walk in peace, sing in peace, be together in peace is the interbeing of that community. So let's sing together one of the songs from Plum Village. When I Rise, it's called. So you can mute yourself and sing along. Thank you so much to Jelaine and the virtual choir for producing that for us. So feel that. Thich Nhat Hanh is not about theory. He's about living. He's about practice. In the book, Living Buddha, Living Christ, he tells a story about St. Francis of Assisi. And St. Francis is talking to a blooming tree. I think it might be a plum tree. And St. Francis says to the tree, "Speak to me of God." And the tree bursts into bloom. And Thich Nhat Hanh says, what better way is there to speak of God than to be living, than to be alive with beauty and love? Another story from that book, Living Buddha, Living Christ. Oh, actually, I have a question for you. And you're welcome to unmute if you want. And let's explore something together. So, what is your favorite religious holiday? Anybody want to say or type it in the chat box? What's your favorite religious holiday? You can unmute if you want, shout it out. Chat box, anybody? Just unmute yourself. Nobody has a favorite holiday. Mine is probably a toss-up between the equinox and the solstice, pagan holidays. I love them. Anyone else?
Okay, we can do pagan. That changes things.
Oh yeah, anything, a religious holiday. Paganism is a religion. So yeah. Julaine, what's yours? Just
well, I would say that it's at Christmas time, but Ed and I celebrate what we call Enlightened Masters Day on December 25th. So we're not just nodding to Jesus, we are also nodding to the Buddha and to all of those others. So it's at Christmas time, but it's Enlightened Masters Day.
Enlightened Masters Day, beautiful. Anyone else have a favorite religious holiday you love?
Thanksgiving, even though it's not really religious because it's all about my family and the food.
Okay. And Diane, I see your lips moving, but I think you're muted. Do you have one? Bill Brink says equinox. How about you, Diane?
I would say the Christmas holiday season, any time from Thanksgiving to New Year's Day.
You love that whole thing. Yeah. Okay. So imagine someone who was of a different religion, let's say Zoroastrianism, because no one mentioned a Zoroastrian holiday. So say the Zoroastrians are in control and they say you can no longer celebrate Christmas, Master's Day, equinox, solstice, none of it. You can no longer celebrate that. Done. How do you feel?
Rebellious.
Yeah. Doesn't feel very good, does it? Well, this is what happened to Thich Nhat Hanh and all of the Buddhists in Vietnam. In 1966, so Vietnam was a Buddhist country. It was colonized by the French, and they brought with them missionaries. They brought with them Christianity, Catholicism, and they imposed it. And the archbishop was brothers with the president, and the archbishop convinced the president to make the celebration of Vesak, one of the Buddhist holidays, Vesak, to make that illegal. Banned it. Oh, that would be the equivalent of banning your favorite religious holiday. The Buddhists were so upset. And it actually led to rebellion, as you said, Julaine, and protests, and it led to a coup d'etat. So Thich Nhat Hanh grew up in this situation of injustice, oppression, disrespect of Buddhism, of his path, his sacred path by the powers that be. And yet, he says, on the altar in my hermitage in France are images of Buddha and Jesus. And every time I light incense, I touch both of them as my spiritual ancestors. How did he get from growing up in this oppressive environment, what he treasured most, his Buddhist path, being disrespected and outlawed in some cases by Christians? How did he get from there to touching the images of the Buddha and Christ as his valid ancestors? How do you suppose? How does a person get there? It's everything we've been talking about so far. It's interbeing. For Thich Nhat Hanh, there is no other. He was able to go deep enough and be present with his own suffering of religious oppression and the war and everything else, to be present with his own suffering and recognize those who were oppressing him were also suffering. The people who were causing pain to him were also suffering. So he didn't put them in a camp of other. He recognized the common humanity of the mess of the situation. And he was able to separate out the religion of Christianity from the individuals who were doing activities in the name of Jesus. But what really, really, really did it for him? Deb is going to play a little clip of an interview between Thich Nhat Hanh and Oprah Winfrey. We saw some of that before. Well, here's more of the interaction between Thich Nhat Hanh and Oprah Winfrey.
Jesus Christ died in the same spirit, out of love.
Being hung on the cross.
And exactly 1 year after, June the 1st, 66, I met him in Chicago. And we had that discussion about peace, freedom, and community. And we agreed with that without a community, we cannot go very far.
How long was the discussion with him?
45 minutes or so.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, there was a press conference, and he came out very strongly against the war in Vietnam.
Do you think that that was a result of your conversation with him?
I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, we continue our work. And the last time I met him was in Geneva during a peace conference called Pacem in Terris.
There's an interesting story from that I heard, that you were running late. Can you tell me that story?
Martin Luther King invited me up for breakfast to talk over these issues again. And I was caught in a press conference downstairs. I came late. He kept the breakfast warm for me. And during the conversation, I was able to tell him that the people in Vietnam call him a bodhisattva, enlightened being, because of what he was doing for his people, his country, for the world.
And the fact that he was doing it non-violently.
Yes, that is the work of a bodhisattva, of a Buddha, of an enlightened person, always with compassion and non-violence.
Uh-huh.
And when I heard of his assassination, I could not believe it. I thought that the American people have produced king, but are not capable of preserving him. I was a little bit angry at that time. I did not eat, I did not sleep. But my determination to continue the work building the beloved community continues always.
Always.
Yes.
Wow, isn't that amazing? So how did Thich Nhat Hanh get from growing up in a situation of oppression by Christians to embracing Jesus as one of his spiritual ancestors? Through the living example of his brother, Martin Luther King. Through the living example of Daniel Berrigan. Through the living example of other Christians whom he encountered, who were a light in the world, who were practicing interbeing. That's how he got there. As I said in the opening quote, when we see someone overflowing with love and understanding, someone who is really keenly aware of what is going on, we know we are very close to the Buddha and to Jesus Christ. That's what it's about. And another place in the book, that this might be my favorite line in the book, how does she say it? Something like, talking about theology is a waste of time. I just love that. It's not about talking. It's about being. It's about living. The title of the book is Living Buddha, Living Christ. Are you the living Buddha? Are you the living Christ? Have you had the blessing of being in the presence of someone who was bringing through the light of Buddha, the light of Christ? Have you done that yourself? What does that feel like when you're in the presence of someone who is radiating that kind of peace, understanding? What's that feel like? And when you yourself have been that, what does that feel like? I want to invite us into a time of meditation on those questions. And I'll put those questions up in the chat box. What makes a religion alive is not the waste of time about discussions about theology. What makes a religion alive is being in the presence of the living Buddha, the living Christ. You, at our best moments, us. So I want to invite you, you have a choice here. You can stay and stay as we are right now, or you can go to a breakout room and have a conversation with whoever pops up in your little breakout room about these questions. When have you encountered the living Buddha or living Christ? When have you embodied the living Buddha, the living Christ? And what's that? What's the feeling? It's a body thing. What's that feeling? So Deb is going to give the option to go to the breakout room. You can take that option if you want, or you can say, no, thanks, I'll stay right here and we can sit. Julaine has a beautiful piece of music she's going to sing for us as we sit in meditation in this main space, and just explore those questions. If you've got a journal, you can jot down what's coming up in your heart and mind. So here we go. Either off to a breakout room or staying in this space. That was the wonderful. I went to one of the breakout rooms. That was really, really wonderful. Some of the things that were mentioned in our group were the stellar people that we've had the good fortune of crossing paths with, but also just all the ordinary people, the ordinary everyday people who radiate love and are present. It's a blessing. It's an absolute blessing to know and be around these people. Thich Nhat Hanh, Thai, he's known, Thai for short, Thai just means teacher. He says, everyone knows that peace has to begin with oneself, but not many people now know how to do it. How to do it, how to be peace, how to live peace. One of the things I found really interesting from that little clip we saw about when Thich Nhat Hanh learned of Martin Luther King's death, and he said he was angry. Did you hear that? Even Thich Nhat Hanh gets angry. Of course. He was very upset, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. One of his closest brothers, a man of a different faith, but closest brothers, was gone from this planet. And he got angry. It's what he did with that anger. He knew how to suffer. He knew how to hold his anger and be gentle with his anger. And take care of himself, take care of his anger, and recommit to beloved community for the rest of his life. Our own life has to be the message. Our own life has to be our message. It's how we live. It's how we live. Our own life, that's our message. In the group that I was in, it came up about presence, being present. Are you present? Back to that story that Thich Nhat Hanh told about St. Francis of Assisi saying to the plum tree, "Speak to me of God," and the plum tree just boom burst into bloom. How about you? Does your presence speak of love, of God, of beauty, of truth? We've been doing a series also on Howard Thurman, and Howard Thurman asks this question. Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself, what makes you come alive? And then go do that, because what the world needs is people who have come alive. So what makes you come alive? How do you, it's not about theory. Talking about religion is a waste of time, as Thich Nhat Hanh says. Talk. It's about living. It's about being that presence and learning how to touch our own suffering gently so that we can be present with other people. So on his deathbed, the Buddha said, "Okay, I'm heading out, but don't worry. You have everything you need inside yourself. Don't look to me." The Buddha said, don't look to me to save you. Look inside yourself. And that's the common message of Christianity and Buddhism. Find that light inside yourself. Jesus, the point of Jesus is not to worship him. The point is to live his example. So let's sing this song, "Be lamps unto yourselves." These are the words attributed to Buddha on his deathbed. So we're going to see a picture of a reclining Buddha. That is the symbol of his deathbed. And his invitation. And Thich Nhat Hanh, who is gone from this plane now, and so is Martin Luther King. They're not here to be the leaders for us anymore. You're it. You're the one the world needs. Your presence. You're radiating out love and kindness wherever you go. So let's sing this song together.
Be lamps unto yourselves. Be your own confidence. Hold to the truth within Be lamps unto yourselves. Be your own confidence. Hold to the truth within yourselves as to the only lamp. Be lamps unto yourselves. Be your own confidence. Hold to the truth within yourselves as to the only lamp. Be lamps unto yourselves. Be your own confidence. Hold to the truth within yourselves as to the only lamp. Be lamps unto yourselves. Be your own confidence. Hold to the truth within yourselves as to the only lamp.
Thank you to the Virtual Choir and to Julaine for that beautiful, beautiful piece. And for our closing words, hear these words again from Thich Nhat Hanh. When we see someone overflowing with love and understanding, someone keenly aware of what is going on, we know that we are close to the Buddha and to Jesus Christ. Sharon has the bell for us and the chalice.